Hey, Darren.
Hey, Chris, nice tie.
Thanks. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
What is
that
it?
is, those ropes on a boat at the end, you could just tie them. It's exactly that. It's exactly like that, right?
Close, close. It's a Windsor knot, made famous by King Edward VIII.
Oh my gosh, he was so much better than King Edward the Sixth or Seventh.
Totally, totally. And I have my tea.
Nice,
Yep. So
nice. What made you dress up today? Is it because of our esteemed guests?
it is absolutely because of our esteemed guest. So it took me about half an hour to get this, and don't zoom in on it because it's pretty terrible. So it's not the best Windsor knot ever, but it's my best
Better than
attempt.
mine.
Yeah, yeah. So our esteemed guests are here, and they're coming from. Hold on,
Hmm.
I wrote it down. Leicestershire.
Wow.
Le-
Is
le-
that even
leash.
close?
It's that leash.
Is that even
It's.
close?
I'm trying. I think I got the L part in the beginning correct, and maybe the at the end. The
Did you
stuff in
just,
the middle. The stuff in the middle, not so good.
we'll have to roll the tape back. Did you just say Liechtenstein?
No, but we do have Helena Kellock and Emily Kellock from Label Apeel in the UK. I'm just going to go with the UK because that's a lot. I can handle that. So
Easier to spell as well. And
yes,
we go write this story
especially
on dscoop.com. Yeah.
exactly. So welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Excellent. So we're going to start out with some really easy questions. We've spoken before this, but for those in the audience who may not know Label Apeel, would love to have you guys tell a little bit of a history of the business and where it's at today.
How long have you got? Because we've got quite a lot to go through. Do you want to?
All right. Does it go back to King Edward the Eighth? Does it go all the way back there? Okay. All right. So it's
Then you're good. Take as long as you need.
So we are a third generation label printer based in Leicestershire within the UK. So it was my granddad who started the business in his garden shed, providing labels to mainly the hosiery industry, which Leicestershire is famous for. And it was the small little labels that go on ladies' tights. And then the hosiery industry basically left Leicestershire almost overnight. And the kind of fallout of that is that there are actually still quite a lot of label printers around this area, obviously no longer in hosiery and having to diversify. So our plan was to move mainly into the beers, wines and spirits industry, which is where about 50% of our markets currently lie. And we've developed that little niche for ourselves in terms of that high quality, high customer service for those customers who need that extra special label and the extra special service from us in terms of going a bit above and beyond. We're also in a lot of other industries. We do a lot of like sports nutrition, personal care, food, all of that type of stuff. If you need a label, we can put a label on it. But we, like we say, more specialise in those highly decorative labels.
awesome. And how did you personally get involved with the business? And I'll start with you, Helena.
So, well, I joined first. So yeah, I'll go first. So I did business management at uni, went and got a corporate job, pretty much like most people do. And then it was just over 2 years ago that my dad said, look, would you like to join? And it was at that point that I made the decision to come over to Label Apeel. So I was kind of managing director in training, so to speak, for about a year. And then, as I said, kind of just over a year ago, we handed over. Stuart's obviously still part of the business. He's still here, taking on more project-based roles, doing marketing, things like that. So that's kind of where I sit within the structure at the moment.
Fantastic. And I don't think we've mentioned we are sisters, just in case that wasn't already clear. But yeah, so for me, it was about 18 months ago. So Helena had been in the business for about 6 months and was settling in. And I was on quite a different trajectory. So I just was about halfway through my first year at university doing an economics degree. And all of a sudden I realized, you know what, I'm not 100% sure that I want to carry on with university. And I was seeing kind of what a big impact Helena was having. And an opportunity kind of opened up for me to actually kind of take a sidestep and kind of leave uni and join the business as well. And yeah, that was about 18 months ago, and haven't looked back really.
Okay.
Has it been sort of interesting to be sisters and colleagues at the same time?
I think for us, it works very well. I mean, sometimes when we tell people about our situation, they can't quite understand it, but we've got a really great kind of working relationship. And that's something that we take quite seriously in terms of home is home, work is work, but there's no one who I'd rather be doing it with. So yeah, it works well for us.
Yeah, I think, like I say, we've definitely got used to it now. It's not something I ever would question, and it's nice to have somebody who, you know, you trust more than anyone else, that you can bounce ideas off and everything like that. But also, I think it's nice because we are actually friends as well. I think when siblings don't get on in the workplace is because they were never friends outside of the workplace, so it's never going to work anyway. Whereas we've always been friends, so it's working well. I mean, I'm sure ask Tom and Harry Baker, I'm sure they would say exactly the
same. Could you break down your roles at the company just so the audience is aware?
Yeah, so I'm the managing director.
Yeah, I'm working sales at the minute, so yeah, part of my sales team.
Well, you guys have an unbelievable company. We're always astounded every time we go online and check out Label Apeel on the website. The projects that you're doing are so unique and different and decorative. What do you guys enjoy most about, you know, this early career of yours?
I think it is unlike anywhere else really, in terms of our biggest motto is, if you can't find anyone else to do it who is kind of willing to take on that challenge, come to us, because even if it can't be done, we'll find a way. And I think it's really exciting because I started this with absolutely no label experience. So I had no idea what was and wasn't possible. So I'm also learning, and really I'm learning anything is possible when you really try. So yeah, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, I think, again, for me, having had a completely different corporate career in food retail and then coming here, I just find it really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people in the industry will completely agree. It's fascinating to just watch a plain roll of material at one end of your press, and then this beautiful, decorative, you know, amazingly detailed label at the other end of the press. Is just a fascinating process to watch. And I always think, whatever you do it the best. So it doesn't matter what your passion is, what your interest is, what your business is, whatever, as long as you're doing the best. And that's where I was like, you know, would I wanted to come into an industry that wasn't pushing boundaries of what's possible? No. Would I want to come into a business within that industry that wasn't pushing boundaries? No. You know, and that's what kind of really drew me to join Label Apeel and join this industry as a whole, because I think there is so much more that we can still do and boundaries that we can push that we haven't yet got to, which is really interesting. And like I say, then when you come here and you meet the team and you can see that everyone is pushing towards that same goal, it's really inspiring. It's a really nice feeling to be part of.
So being that you had 50% of your work, I think you said, was the spirits and beer, does your past experience in the food industry bring any unique insights into what you're doing now and the mindset of the customer?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I saw firsthand how much branding affects sales and affects consumer purchasing patterns. You know, I used to work for Aldi, and Aldi is obviously famous for its kind of copycat labeling. And you can see that in customers' minds, like, oh, well, that looks like this famous brand, so I will buy that. You know, this is really interesting, especially when you're buying wine. You know, people do just buy it based on the label. Most people are not wine connoisseurs and know what they're going to buy. And it's one of those products that you can't see what the quality is like from the outside. If you're buying a bottle of gin, it just looks like a clear bottle of liquid. It's not like buying food where you can see, you can smell, you can feel the texture of how good something is. All you have to base your kind of consumer knowledge on is the packaging. So obviously that goes hand in hand with why those companies are willing to invest more in their packaging and all of that. But yeah, I've seen it from that other side of consumers literally stood in front of a wall of wine, and they will feel the label and then they will pick that one up off the shelf and take it home with them. So yeah, it is definitely fascinating to now see it from the other side as well.
Now, Emily, how did you teach yourself in 18 months about the label industry?
Excellent question. I mean, it's one of them. I feel like we've been a part of the industry in a way forever, because obviously we've seen Stuart, we've seen everything that he's been talking about at the breakfast table, and we've seen it kind of from a very early age. But coming into it, it's just a case of getting involved. I mean, we really push kind of getting onto press, really getting out there and actually being there, watching them. But I mean, it's such an amazing, like, supportive industry in terms of from other printers to suppliers. I mean, there was a lot of suppliers, especially, kind of took me under their wing a little bit and came in and really gave me some in-depth sessions and really got me up to speed pretty quickly, which was amazing. And like we say, whenever we're kind of at events where there are other label printers there, they're always offering bits of advice and bits of guidance, which is amazing and very much appreciated.
Can I step back a little bit into the history? That transition, and I know in the interview with Stuart, he mentioned a little bit, but that transition from hosiery into high-end spirits and what you're focused on now, like, what was that learning curve like? And I know you may not have been as invested in the company at that point, but that transition is not too dissimilar to what's going on now with the transition into more digital and things like that. So can you go a little bit into like transition or inflection points with the company?
Yeah, I think any major change like that is either the start or the end of the culture that you're trying to build. And I think obviously I wasn't in the business at that point, but reflecting back, you look at our culture now and you think that has to have come from that transition point, as in that time of innovation, of trying new things, of pushing the boundaries, of commitment to excellence. All of that can only have been born from that, right, we've got to make this work, guys, like, you know, otherwise we're not going to have a business at the end of it. And I think it is really fascinating to see how the culture has stemmed from that really big pivot and change to, we have to become the best label printer in the UK because there is no other option, otherwise we will die off. So yeah, I think, like I say, although we weren't there, from what I understand, it was you know, right, let's just try and fail, but that's okay, because every time we fail we get a little bit closer to the end goal. So
And it sounds like that culture, you've mentioned culture at least 3-4 times during this call. Do you think that's your primary job, is to maintain that culture of what's the next thing? Is that what you think it is? I mean, is that what you're doing every day, making sure you continue that trajectory?
Yeah, and I think that's really where you step in, and that's your kind of main focus, because at the end of the day, I'm out there speaking to customers and selling a product, and I want to be completely confident that what I'm selling isn't just a label, but it is a whole full service in terms of, from our studio team right through to our QC team who check everything at the end. I am selling all of their skills, and I think that's really where I have to have complete faith in Helena that she is implementing all of the necessary steps to make sure that that whole process is seamless and perfect. Really, we're always aiming for perfection.
Yeah, I think, as I say, it's one of those where we definitely view our quality of product as highly as our quality of service. You know, we view both as equally important. We can't have one without the other, because if we are, you know, making claims that we are, you know, the best label printer in the UK, that means that, you know, we want to be the best in terms of quality and the best in terms of customer service. I mean, we've literally just got our most recent customer satisfaction survey results, and, you know, our NPS is sitting at 90, which is well over world class and way over national average for manufacturing and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, we're really, really pleased with that, but we don't want to get complacent, and it's always what's the next thing that we can do. obviously we know that the industry, especially in the UK, is having a lot of change in terms of being bought out by the big companies, and we obviously aren't doing that. We're remaining independent, which has its own challenges, and we need to make sure that our strategic direction is really aligned with where we want to end up. And I think, yeah, exactly like Emily said, getting the team on board with that and that really focused culture of really clear direction is 100%. Like if we don't have that, then there will be no business. So culture, like you said, I talk about it a lot because I think it's the pinnacle of what I'm trying to achieve.
That's really impressive, guys. I love the 90 is amazing for that NPS score. Congratulations. Emily, I have a question for you, and this is a little bit about the market for labels in the UK. But I'll ask it this way. Whenever you visit clients, customers, or prospects or current clients, you visit them, you drive there, you close the door, there's a meeting coming up. As you walk in the door, what are you thinking typically?
It's a great question. It's something which I 100% agree with in terms of getting into that right mindset, because someone is welcoming you in, and I really think of myself as a print partner, and I think that is always what I've got going through my head. I'm not a supplier, I'm a print partner, I'm a mentor in that way, because I think we do so much more than just sell. Like, I don't really think of myself as a salesperson. Really, when I know I've done my job is when they see me as part of their team and as kind of a bit of a trusted advisor. Because there are some times when I look at a label spec and I tell them, guys, we've overspec'd this. Like, this is just absolutely crazy. And I actually talk them down a bit. And I think it's really about them seeing me as kind of an employee almost of them. And I think that's really what's always going through my brain.
That's cool. Yeah, you are an extension of your clients' brands. It seems that way. How is the label market in the UK? Are a lot of people wanting more different, distinct labels on their products?
Definitely. And I think especially we're seeing it in kind of the gin industry, where it's been an absolutely crazy time. There's been an absolute boom in the industry kind of over COVID. And now things are kind of settling down, and it's getting to a time where, people need to be a little bit different. People need to be pushing the boundaries, and kind of just having a distillery and kind of opening it up isn't quite enough anymore. We've got to be doing something a little bit different, and that's where we step in, really. I don't expect anyone who comes to us to know anything about labels, because that isn't their job. It's my job to kind of present options and find the best fit for them, really.
What are your clients seeing as their biggest challenges? Like when you sit down with them, like, what are they asking for? Are they asking, we just want a pretty label? Are they bringing bigger challenges to the table?
Sustainability is something that I'm either hearing in pretty much every meeting as kind of something that's being questioned of ours, or it's something that I'm presenting. And I'm always trying to kind of get on the front foot with that, because if people aren't thinking about it already, they need to be thinking about it already, really, because it's something that customers are wanting to see more of. And so I think it's a double-edged sword in terms of customers are wanting to feel like they're having an impact with the products that they're buying, as in kind of end consumers, but also brands are wanting to do more for themselves. They've got their own targets to meet in terms of sustainability. And again, I see us as a part of that and a part of that bigger picture for them. So that's definitely something that I'm presenting more, and we're always wanting to know about new things that our suppliers are offering in terms of materials, but also things we're doing internally to kind of reduce our impact.
Now, you brought up sustainability there. What's the biggest challenge for you guys? Because you do high-end labels. Like, I don't know how many processes hit a label that you guys do, but some of the samples that I've seen on your website, I'm like, that has to be like 15 passes through some kind of machines, because there's gloss stuff going on, there's the foils going on now, and all of those things are going to make an impact on the sustainability aspect of that label. Like, what are your challenges when it comes to balancing those two things?
I think a big part of it is educating the customer at the end of the day, because a lot of people either overestimate how unsustainable or uneco-friendly a product is, and therefore they buy into the greenwashing of other products. So, you know, I'm not sure about your guys' sustainability laws over in the States, but here it's very frustrating because there'll be things like recyclable plastic bags or compostable plastic bags. Well, they don't mean that you can put it in your garden compost, but that is not clear to the end consumer. So there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people think, oh, you know, labels are so unsustainable, but when you actually look at the carbon footprint and the carbon impact in creating some of these things, it's, you know, it's comparable to printed packaging or whatever. It's so complicated, and it also depends on what do you class as, you know, your sustainability measure. Are we measuring carbon? Are we measuring you know, water? Are we measuring how many forests we're cutting down to get the paper? Whatever it might be. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, which is an absolute minefield for the customer to go through. But also there are some really, really simple things that we can do to reduce the impact for the customer. And when we explain that to them, they get it and it makes sense. But it's getting them open to the conversation and to actually be able to impart some of that knowledge. And also, like we say, you know, making sure that we're working really closely with suppliers to move the whole industry in the right direction. To make sure that we can do things like reduce waste, have more sustainable options in terms of material that is also financially viable for our customers. All of that sort of stuff. As an industry, we need to move together to educate customers and also push suppliers in the direction that we need them to be moving in.
Has sustainability become an opportunity for you, like a selling point? Has it become? Okay, it has. So,
definitely, but it's one of them. It's only an opportunity and it's only a selling point if we are the experts and if we have the facts to back it up, because I just refuse to get into, like Helena was saying, the greenwashing. If I don't feel confident talking about it, and if I am not confident that the knowledge that I'm imparting is accurate and is backed up and I have the evidence behind me, then there is no point.
and how do you train yourselves on this? I mean, it's because it's a moving target. Like how much time are you spending teaching yourselves about this?
I mean, we're really lucky. Again, our suppliers really work with us, and I think it's about getting them in as often as possible and kind of really pushing them and really kind of asking the right questions, which is something that we're really passionate about. And then from kind of an internal perspective, pushing ourselves and questioning ourselves and getting the data to back up what we're doing here.
I actually think there's a lot of stuff that we can measure internally and work out internally and present to our customers, you know, which is fact, which means that we're confident in the numbers because we've, you know, measured it ourselves, which is really, really good. And because our whole business model is centered around us having the time to have those proper conversations with customers, that's where the benefit comes in, because we, you know, like I say, have that platform to have those discussions.
I have a question for you, Helena, because it seems like you have a lot on your to-do list. You're responsible for quite a bit, which is really impressive as a young leader. What is on your to-do list? What are you trying to do today or this week or this quarter?
I think I mean, it's an interesting question. I think everyone's to-do list is longer than they can possibly manage, because I mean, maybe people aren't like me, but my thing is always like aim to do everything, and then if we achieve a proportion of that, then, you know, that's a success. But I think the way that I approach my job is, look, you know, our business is full of people who are much more skilled and much more intelligent and much more capable in their own area of expertise than me. And it is not my job to tell them how to do their job. It is my job to facilitate them having the space and the time and the resources and all of that sort of stuff to be able to do their job to the best of their ability. So a good chunk of my time is making sure that, like I say, the managers within our team are able to fulfill their own kind of goals. And part of that is then providing them with the structure and the cultural expectations and the strategic direction so that every manager is working towards that same goal. So giving them the space and giving them the direction, but all towards the same kind of point. So yeah, it is a bit random. My days do sometimes look very different, I think, from what people would expect. But I think that's the interesting bit for me. And ultimately, all I want to achieve is that I have a really happy workforce who feel motivated, empowered, and that they can go home every day feeling like they've done a good job at something they enjoy. So yeah, that can be a lot of different things on my to-do list to achieve that. But
it seems like when they go home and they think they've done a good job, I think maybe they're also thinking that it's their job, like that they take ownership with whatever lane they're in at your company. That seems like that's a big part of your culture, where quote unquote everyone is an owner. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, it's something that we put in our values because we think that it's really important for both the business to be successful, but also for people to have that job satisfaction, that they feel like they have a real say and that they feel like they have the autonomy to make the right decision and that we trust them to make the right decision. Also on that, it's interesting. I read about a kind of thought experiment the other day, which I thought, this is what I've been trying to explain. And it's basically saying that if you were driving a train and there were 5 people sat on the track and they, for whatever reason, couldn't hear or see you coming, and all those 5 people were going to die. I know this is morbid, stick with me. But you could then also pull a lever that would redirect the train that would only kill 1 person sat on the track. And it's this thought experiment famous in, that area, that basically is saying, would you pull that lever because it's a conscious choice that you're going to choose to kill that 1 person, rather than not touching the lever, which means that you've not made a choice but 5 people die? Well, the flip side of that is you've chosen not to pull the lever. So it's one of those where, although people say, oh no, I couldn't pull the lever because I couldn't make a choice that I'm going to kill someone, but if you don't pull the lever, you're going to kill 5 people. So the way, I don't normally tell that story to people when I encourage them to make a decision, because that makes it seem a little bit, dark. But I say not making a decision is making a decision. So make the decision with justification. And if you get it wrong, that's fine. Like, you've made a mistake, that's no problem. No one ever in our company gets blamed or gets a telling off or whatever for making a decision. And not making a decision is a decision. So on the flip side, there was also that. I think we've bred that culture of think like an owner, as in take responsibility for your actions and make decisions and make actions that you fully believe in, that you've thought through. And if you don't have the training, of course, then ask and say, I need some support with this decision. But we very much encourage people to take action and take autonomy and trust their own instincts and training.
Emily, do you feel similarly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Helena has really helped, and I think that Stuart really kind of started that culture, and I think that's something that he also really, really strongly believes in. And I think that's fantastic that we've all kind of picked up on that and really ran with that, and then Helena believes in that so strongly as well. I think that's just a nice seamless continuation. I think the management team here are just fantastic, and they really, really understand that as well.
I have a quick follow-up, and this is more about sort of your family dynamic, which I always think is interesting. You just called him Stuart, for instance. We're talking about your dad, right? And what has that separation been like? And has it been constant for you? At age, 10, you're very conscious of the fact of where he's going to work and what he's doing, and you might be hearing those things at the dinner table, etc. And then you sort of quote unquote work with him or for him. Is there some sort of mental separation that you have to do when you shut the door and go into work versus not? Or is it more sort of combined, this experience of personal and corporate?
People are always very weirded out by that, aren't they? That we call them mum and dad at home, or in kind of more kind of familiar situations, and then Stuart and Michelle at work. But I think we're all very multi-sided. I mean, if someone only thought of me in a corporate setting or an at-home setting or a social setting, I would be a little bit offended, to be honest. So I think we all kind of have have that multi sides to us. And I think we just kind of pick up on that and have always ran with that, and they've always very much respected us in a professional sense and an at-home sense, and they've respected that we've got multiple sides to us, and there is that little bit of separation, but I think just in the same way that we all kind of see people in different situations. I don't think it's been a difficult transition for us.
I think it is really interesting. I hadn't really pondered it from that perspective until you've asked. Lots of people say, how is it working with your dad, and all of that sort of stuff. When I've thought about that question, answered that question 100 times, but in terms of, do I think of it differently when I walk through the office doors? Honestly, no. I think it is just in the sense of, you talk to your friends differently if you're sat on the sofa at home compared to if you're sat in a nice restaurant. It's exactly the same at work. You adapt to the setting rather than, oh, I'm now treating you as the work Stuart rather than the home dad. So yeah, I think it is just, you act slightly differently in the setting, but also, even from a young age, when it was the summer holidays, Mum used to bring us in for a work picnic with Dad, and then when I was old enough, I'd work here over the summer holidays. So we've got people here. Our production manager literally actually just reminded me this morning that his 20-year work anniversary is next year. So I've known him since I was little, and it's so many people here we've both known since we were really young. So it is interesting that there's a lot of people who we almost have that, like, oh, I've known you since I was like 12 years old, and now we work together. So
just one more question about this, because what do you like most about each other? What do you respect most about each other from a business standpoint? Like, as business colleagues, if you weren't sisters, what compliments would you be giving each other about how you approach your job, etc.?
I think Emily is always extremely positive with every customer, in the sense of, what can I offer this customer? What can I help this customer with? How am I going to show up in the absolute best way for what this customer needs? And, no matter whether maybe that meeting doesn't go the way you want it or whatever, it's always that she can say 100%, I gave that my absolute best. I showed up in the best way for that customer. I will always fight for my customers. I will always, make sure that I can absolutely achieve what they want. And it's a very personal point of pride that is not just, oh, it's work. I've taken a customer's order. I'm going to get it through the door and ship it out and charge them for it. It's I don't want to let my customer down, and I'm going to make sure that they get everything perfectly, and I'm going to show up as my best self every day.
That's a tough act to follow. That's a tough act to follow.
A good one.
Yeah.
I think for me, Helena's unconditional support, I think, is what I respect most, and I don't think that at all comes from us being sisters, because I see it with absolutely everyone, where there is a complete sense of, especially kind of for anyone in the business, but especially, I guess, you work more closely and one-on-one with the managers, where you support every kind of part of them, be it personal, be it professional, and they know that they can make decisions and be empowered because you will always be there to back up that decision. And if anyone was to ever try and kind of question that or undermine that, you would be there always unconditionally to support them. And I think that's really powerful, and that really is the backbone of the culture.
Going to go back a little bit on the culture of the company and the breaking boundaries. How much time do you spend, like, how do you break boundaries? Like, do you have it as part of your process? Do you say, we're going to try something, even if it's not for a client? Like, how are you like experimenting? Do you have R&D? Like, do you have R&D time? Like, what do you do to do the next thing? Like, what are you investing there?
I think it's two-parted in terms of, if we rely quite heavily on our customers wanting to innovate, and I think we're so lucky that our customers really want to push boundaries and really push us. So for just an example, I've got a customer who's wanting to move on to a material that we've actually never printed on. And so that's really exciting for us. So kind of separate to any of their orders, before they want to go ahead with that, I'm going to put that material through its paces. I want to know it can foil, it can print, it can emboss. I want to know all the ins and outs of that material. But would we have necessarily tried that without them kind of wanting to experiment and wanting to push that boundary? I'm not sure. I mean, we always try and be ahead of the curve with R&D. So we've got like an R&D day, which we try and like try out new things and really push the boundaries of things we haven't yet been asked. But also part of that is relying on customers to work with us and push us.
Yeah, and I think it's getting the whole company involved. You know, we have a suggestions box for R&D day, which is in the canteen all the time, so everyone can put it forward their suggestions for the new things that they want to try. And it is, everyone gets involved with the new projects. That, like I say, you know, we try and do once a quarter R&D day, and you know, sometimes it's a fail, but that's fine, because you know, we know that then we can't do that, and if the customer asks, the answer is probably not yet. But it also means that we can, again, back to the earlier point of working with suppliers, we get them involved and say, you know, are you interested in kind of coming along this journey with us? And most of the time they say yes, please. So that's really positive as well.
Do you have any recordings of those R&D days? Like, I would love to see like outtakes of R&D day. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah.
To be honest, it sounds a lot more exciting than it is. Most of the time it's about 10 people just stood around the press going like this. Why is that not working? Maybe try pressing that button.
Right, but I mean, you guys go in with a hypothesis. It's almost like being a professor or a scientist. You're going in there, hey, let's see if this will work. I think this will happen, and then seeing what happens is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think for us it's so natural. I mean, the point was we were doing R&D day every day, and so we just kind of thought, you know, guys, let's try and focus this onto one day. So we don't really think of it as anything particularly special or different, because it's what we've always done. We're just now trying to formalize it a little bit.
That is super cool, man. I want to be there on R&D day.
Yeah, I want to see like a YouTube video of R&D day fails. Like,
yeah,
you know, like a quick collection of like, oh man.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll start doing some. Maybe we'll do like a roundup year bloopers, and we'll release it every Christmas or something like that.
And if you make something from the views, you'll get 50%.
Perfect. Yeah. But all of this matters. I mean, Chris's question is really poignant, because you are trying to push boundaries all the time, and for good reason, because labels are a great example in the print industry to me of a product that has like a deeper layer of truth. You aren't selling an adhesive, you're selling someone's ability to, you know, protect something. You're not selling necessarily a certain construction or embellishment. You're selling a brand, like brand identity, and a movement that they can have through this label. This label is a thing on a wine bottle, but it could mean a genuine increase in sales or noticed by consumers that this brand is different or distinct, or, you know, whatever it's trying to do. Do you guys get that sense? Do you feel this larger sense of purpose that, yeah, you're your best label printer in the UK, etc., but you're more than that in the customer's eyes? You are tied to some sort of goal. Do you feel that when you attack your to-do lists?
100%. I think especially working really closely with designers. So we have customers and designers in a lot of pass on press. I'd say at least every week there's at least one customer in. So you actually see the passion in their eyes when their idea and their baby and their, you know, design that they've worked on for months and months and months comes to life. So you really do 100% get that sense. And, you know, we've had customers that we've had for so long. We've been there through their business ups and downs. And exactly like you were saying, in terms of driving sales, you see the excitement when they rebrand and it grows sales, or they launch in a new, you know, continent or a new country or whatever it is, and they have to tweak their designs to appeal to local markets. And it's this whole process of how you engage with the customer. So yeah, we really do understand that, and we don't take that for granted. like say, you know, we'll never be a printer's file printer, because we understand things like how many hours that brand owner has poured over a Pantone book of like, this is going to be my brand color. We don't want to send it a bit different from that. You know, we want their initial vision to be replicated in all of its glory again and again and again perfectly. So yeah, we do take that responsibility very seriously.
Do you think you can take Chris's, whatever that little drawing is in the background, Chris, that little happy guy? I think that would be, no, other way. Yeah, what is that? And can it be a part of a wine bottle for them?
That's Mother Earth, or the Earth.
It is?
Yes.
She looks happy.
Yeah, well, if you zoomed in, it's not happy. All right, I have a couple last questions. This is going to be generational for most people. Favorite TV show?
This is probably for me not what someone would be expecting. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, EastEnders. Okay,
No.
imagine the most tragic soap opera that you've ever seen.
Terrible.
Set in the East End of London. It's on every single day. It's absolutely fantastic. But in how tragic it is absolutely fantastic. But that isn't necessarily something you'd expect someone my age to be watching. But that would be mine.
Yeah.
All right.
Mine would probably be Gossip Girl.
Okay. All right. Another question. You have a free day on the calendar. What do you go do?
Free down the work calendar, just to clarify.
Yeah. Is this like an off day on Thursday, Chris, or is this an average Sunday? It doesn't matter.
Yep. You just have a day on the calendar, no work, no plans. What's the one thing you go do?
We're big into food, aren't we?
Yeah.
Big into food. So I think for probably both of us, food and wine are probably two of our biggest passions in life outside of sticky labels. So yeah, for me, nice restaurant, nice bottle of wine. I actually can't think of anything I'd rather do.
Yeah. So I would rather do that. So full day skiing, because then you feel like you've earned the calories and you're like, you know, that physically tired. So then when you eat that meal and have that first glass of wine at the bottom of the slopes, it's like, yes, it feels so much better. So yeah, I would say nice food and wine, but after skiing.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Okay, yeah, change mine.
All right. Excellent. Well, that's all I have, Darren. Anything for you?
No, but I mean, we weren't surprised, but they earned your tie. Like, you dressed up for a reason and they just super delivered, right?
Yes.
That was really fun. It was a really fun conversation.
Thank you so much.
We really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was great to speak with you guys.
Thank you both, and have a great afternoon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.